I've put more than 40 hours now into Borderlands 4, completing the campaign roughly like 30 hours on Vex, solo, and on hard difficulty, and an extra few hours more into like getting to max level and boss farming for a few items. And honestly, it did not feel like I have played for that long, which is a good thing. I'm not sure yet if this is to the level of Borderlands 2. I think I need to play with people online and play the upcoming DLCs first, but Borderlands 4 is more fun than Borderlands 3, and it's pretty good on its own. First, I have to talk about performance. The game is reportedly a performance disaster. Memory leaks on console, PC players having a hard time maintaining past 60 frames, even for those that can run Borderlands 3 just fine. People blame Denuvo, people blame Unreal Engine 5, some people blame Randy Schizo Twitter rants saying that maybe you, as a player, need a premium setup for a premium game like this. Okay, man, but I mean, honestly, the blame is still on Gearbox because it's just unoptimized at all. It reminds me of Monster Hunter Wilds launch earlier this year. For me, it was flawless. No crashes, no stutters. I think I've been above 100 frames the entire time with max graphics settings on. I think my PC is just used to running these games with terrible optimization. Once you get fucked in the ass once, you could take in another one. Probably someone said that, yeah. I never had any performance issues at all, but tons of other people have, so if you're on Steam, you can always refund it if you do run into that problem. Steam is very generous with refunds. The story was actually bearable this time, at least compared to Borderlands 3. This entry definitely has a darker tone. I mean, the villain essentially is capable of possessing bodies and just have them just murk themselves. And it happened more than once. And I think personally, with the characters that take lead in parts of the storyline are actually decent. I wouldn't say they're top tier, but it's decent. And for me, the main story content wasn't all that enticing to me, but I didn't mind listening to it as I was blasting whatever was in front of me. I think the good piece of story was some of the side quests actually. I kind of regret not fully locking in on some of the side quests because they were pretty funny. When I had to hard grind for levels, I would turn down the volume of the game, have something playing on my second monitor like Valorant VCT, the offline Cobblemon tournament thing, whatever was going on. But I remember reading through one of the Claptrap side quests and it got me straight laughing. Now I know Claptrap has a bad reputation, so much that he now has a dedicated volume slider in the settings in case you want to tune him down, but I actually think he's pretty funny. But yeah, I didn't find the main storyline amazing. I thought it was decent. Maybe I didn't really vibe with the main villain. Like, I could tell he was powerful and they made that clear from the get-go. But I don't know. I think something about him was missing for me to make me think, wow, the Timekeeper is a really cool character. I think that's what, I don't want to say ruined. I think it's too harsh, but that's what ruined the main story for me. The humor is definitely much better this time around. I think Borderlands 3 humor is very, milky humor. There's a term for it, I know it. But it just expires like milk with just how they did some of the quests and humor. I remember there was like an Echo net neutrality quest line, like that's not really relevant today. And I think everyone forgot about that whole incident. And thank God with Borderlands 4, they moved away from like some of that expires like milk type of humor and have stuff that can still be enjoyed and laughed at like 10 years from now or whatever. And even some of the quips that the Vault Hunter says are also pretty funny. I only played Vex, really, but from all of her quips or whatever, I can tell she's a freak. But it's really cool that the Vault Hunters have their own personality, and I'm sure like Rafa, Amon, and Harlow are the same. And it's also nice that they are more integrated into the story and cutscenes as well. Maybe it's been too long since I played through Borderlands 3 campaign, but it was really nice to see Vex in a lot of cutscenes actually doing stuff. I think in 3 they might have been in cutscenes, but just standing there, I forgot. But here, it really feels like a proper single player experience and not having so many like placeholders, so to speak. I think to me the biggest change in this entry is the movement. From Borderlands 2 to Borderlands 3, I think the biggest gameplay feature for that was being able to like slide and mantle. And to me, something so small went a long way. And now for Borderlands 4, you can double jump, glide across gaps, grapple certain things, pull in certain hazardous items, and throw them. And it feels like Titanfall in a way. Not as fast as like Titanfall Apex, but definitely faster than Borderlands 3. I think it does kind of loses all of that once you have like a more established build, maybe around like level 30 or so, because you're more reliant on like ability spam or whatever. But at least for like at least the first 20 levels, I was very reliant on moving, dodging certain things, grabbing anything I could see, and just chucking them to the nearest enemy I see. It felt really good. Hopefully they make the little hazard bombs scale better in endgame, because the grenades that are like they're off cooldown now instead of like picking up like grenade ammo are vastly superior because they just scale better, and yeah, they're just better. Another big change are the guns themselves. The gun manufacturers, like before, pretty much determine the main characteristic of a gun. Jacob's gun rewards precision, Theodore have like a special reload function, Maliwan has like elements, swappery thingy, and etc. But the thing with Borderlands 4 is that not only there's a new manufacturer, you can essentially like have like a Frankenstein random gun roll. You can get a singular gun as a Jacob's perk, a Theodore perk, and a Maliwan perk. Yes, a singular gun that can ricochet off headshots, have a grenade-like reload, and can swap elements all in a non-legendary gun. I think this was a very cool addition that they added, and essentially multiplies whatever number of different guns they had in Borderlands 3 by like factorial or whatever. The problem is, I didn't like any of the manufacturers present in Borderlands 4. In Borderlands 3, I loved Theodore, especially those guns where when you reload, the gun turns into a turret drone. That was really cool. But now, I think they got rid of that feature completely. And all the Theodore guns reloads is just basically a grenade. There goes my favorite manufacturer. Jacobs is probably the next best for me, but it seems like they hard nerfed all the magazine sizes of their gun. Maybe I've yet to find like the perfect roll or whatever, but Jacobs is just decent. Maliwan's still the same, Torix still feels underwhelming even though it's about explosives, and there are manufacturers like Ripper, COV, and Order. It's like, if I see any of those, it's just instant junk. Just not a fan of charge-up guns, and I think in general, I'm not really excited for any of the manufacturers. Whenever I see a gun drop, I just pray it's not any of the insta-junk manufacturers, and that kind of kills some of the looting aspect. It makes it to where I only care about legendary weapons since they don't really follow the manufacturer rules. I hope in the future, they either make these existing manufacturers better or add new ones that are actually fun and enjoyable. And other than that, it's the same old Borderlands before. The feeling of shooting each gun feels nice, the abilities are still really good to build around. I've only really played as Vex, but she has a really good variety of different builds you can do, especially depending on like what legendary class mod you end up liking. I've heard great things about Roth and Amon. I don't really know about Harlow. I think not that many people are choosing her for now. And while we're here, I really like the UI changes that they did for this entry. It's a lot different than previous Borderlands games, and I think this new layout is very clean, very clear, and I was never lost in it or anything. It does lose its immersion, I guess, since Borderlands 3 has like a hologram, but I feel like you lose a lot of actual menu space because of that, and I much prefer this one over that. Another big difference is that Borderlands 4 is a fully open world game. There's no zones like before where you have to like load into different sections or zones. The only time you really encounter that in this game is if you have to go into like certain like dungeon-like areas like vaults, for example. But out in the open world, you could get on your speeder and just drive around the entire world in circles with no loading screens. Honestly, it was actually pretty decent. I do think it's missing like the, oh wow, what's that type of landmark and make you get distracted to go check it out. Like seeing like an abandoned temple of time in Breath of the Wild or whatever it was called. There's nothing really like that in Borderlands 4. Like Kairos doesn't really have any empty spaces, which is really good. Every single coordinate area has something in it, whether it's like a world boss, a side quest, random collectible. I've yet to encounter a small area that was meaningless, and this place is huge. I didn't realize how big the world was until I fully zoomed out, and seeing every noted collectible and all that on the map makes it very convenient to try to 100% this game, if that's something you want to do. There weren't that many things that I did not enjoy. They lowered the rate of legendary drops, and I was actually okay with that. Before in Borderlands 3, legendary drops were expected. But now with them being a lower drop rate, even if I'm essentially target farming them, I get pretty happy when I hear the legendary ding. It will probably be a normal thing eventually, but it's still a nice feeling to have. And like I said before, I don't really like any of the manufacturers enough to call any one of them my favorite. And so when I see an epic gun drop, I'm hoping that it's not one of the bad ones, which probably makes the need for legendaries even more, which I think is kind of counteracted for the reason to lower drop rates. But I'd rather have what it is now than before. The end game, I think, is still lacking. They have a new thing called like Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, which so far it feels like it's just mayhem mode, but it's a bit more streamlined since the max difficulty is 5. But I think in terms of activities you can do once you complete the campaign, it's just really boss farming the same bosses or doing the main missions again. And I think that can get old pretty fast. You do unlock like a new specialization tree, but I think, at least for me, there were a few good perks, but nothing too crazy, I would say. So I do think once you hit max level with a character, there doesn't seem to be much to do other than like 100% the game or just make a new character. Hopefully this will be solved in like a DLC or something. It would be nice to maybe go into like an endgame only zone with rotating bosses, modifiers, and challenges and all that to entice us with like, I don't know, like a guaranteed legendary gear for completing something tough. But as of right now, the only thing that I find myself doing in the endgame is just boss farming. If you can get past all the performance problems, Borderlands 4 is an amazing game. The story was decent, the humor was great, the gunplay still feels good, just like how it was before, and I never felt like my time was ever truly wasted. There was never an hour or something that I wish I could take back, and being able to traverse through this huge open world with all the new movement abilities and tech made it feel very fast and very rewarding. Once you do complete the game, you may scratch your head figuring out what to do next, but with many planned DLCs on the way and with how well the base game is on its own, I think it's safe to say Borderlands 4 is here to stay and will definitely satiate those with the looter shooter itch that a lot of people are dying to scratch. That'll do it for me for today. Make sure to like and subscribe as my goal is to get to 500 subs by the end of the month. I hope you guys have a great rest of your days and I appreciate you guys for watching.